Excuse me, everybody. Monday morning. We are solo today. Mark Puttenvink is not feeling well. Uh, he had a little bit of a wild party, I think, on Friday. So they had a party. So I have to be careful. I don't know how much he said publicly, but he's got a new venture going on. That he's going to be out in Utah for coming and going back and forth. So his friends here locally put on a little party for him on Friday. I unfortunately could not make it Friday. It was about, I would have had to fly there. It was like a 12-hour drive. No, it wasn't. It was a little bit far away for me to get there on Friday. So they had a good, fun event. And apparently he got sick. I don't know if he over imbibed or what's going on with him, but so Mark was not able to make it. I, on the other hand, had a glorious day yesterday. Just because nobody here yet. We won't go too long today. I'm just here by myself. So if nobody is on, no questions or anything, we have the draft on Friday and Saturday. So if nobody's around, then that's fine. We'll cut this short. But yesterday it was invited for like the fourth or fifth year in a row to represent the New York Rangers and MSG along with John Wallace from the Knicks to attend the New York City Pride Parade. What an event that is. That's right, Big Wise. Yeah, farm boy Tom Laidlaw, the New York City Pride. Who would have thought, back when I was 8 years old, that I'd be going to the New York City Pride Parade, representing the New York Rangers in Madison Square Garden. Fun event, though. Some daring sights, but it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, the people there at the event really are into it. It's obviously a huge event for them. Susan Brooks is here. Thank God. Oh, man. I was gonna call Susan and call you today. I found out Mark couldn't get on. I thought he'd get on, but I think you like the anonymity. Anonymity? Yes, anonymity. Yeah. There he is. Our glorious veteran from Cooperstown, New York, Barry Shelley. Just got back from a little trip, I understand, with his beautiful bride. So we missed him just last week, right? So again, draft was on Friday and Saturday. So they did a bit different this year with the NHL draft. I'm sure people saw it, where usually all the teams are in one location. This year I guess other than the one of the COVID years, they didn't do that. But this year, so they did it in some theater in LA. Was just to draft players and Gary Bettman and people from the NHL. Then all the teams are in different locations, and they had obviously Zoom calls and everything. So, but it didn't turn out, and they were very honest about it. Hi, Susan. Wait till Tracy gets on. Marvelous Monday. I like that. Troy, yes, absolutely. Magnificent, marvelous. So they, again, the draft a little different. So the teams are not there. So, and again, the NHL, I thought, was very honest and very open about it. They weren't even sure about it themselves. I guess the teams had voted 26-6 in favor of doing it this way, cut down on the travel and everything. And I pretty much got the sense that, hey, listen, if it didn't work and they kind of questioned whether it was going to work or not, they would just go back to the regular way of doing it. But I tell you, I admire them. Try something different. I didn't think the draft itself was that bad, not having the teams there. I just didn't think ESPN put a whole lot into it. And no disrespect to the people that were there. But typically you get, if you watch the NFL draft, they have that, Mel Kiper is there, and he's the draft expert, right? Gets into all the players, knows them all. I just didn't feel like the NHL really, or ESPN didn't have that going on. So, so it dragged on, as Susan says here, it was kind of tedious. But because it just wasn't, I didn't get the sense, with Mel Kiper, Pierre McGuire, as much as people were kind of loved or hated Pierre, always had an opinion, right? He'd fight for a player, and he always had this information about him. And I don't think anybody on that panel that was something. I love the work that Kevin Weeks does in particular. They're all great, but again, I just didn't get the sense that was really their bailiwick, right? So to do that, you have to. It's a whole year of really studying the players and talking to scouts and getting to know the number one pick, Schaefer. That was a great story. Well, I would call it a great story. Sad story in one way, that he lost his lost his mother to cancer. And also, I didn't realize until watching the draft, or maybe it was after, I found out his billet mother. So when players go away from home, they stay with the family. They call it a billet. And the mother, I think before the mother at the home where he stayed, before he lost his own mother, unfortunately took her own life. So he went through a lot of stuff. Really strong kid. It was pretty cool. I give the Islanders a lot of credit when they had, obviously they knew they were going to draft him, and they gave the jersey to him. It had the pink cancer ribbon on, and I guess they'd put his initials inside, her initials inside his jersey as well. So very emotional scene. First class by the Islanders. Great job by them. So let me see here. Guess I'll get out of the way before Tracy gets on. Good morning, Tracy. Yeah, I like that, Barry. Thinking ahead, planning. That's you. That's the kind of person you are. You're a planner. Because Tracy does want that kind of build up, right? We've talked about that before. She's listening right now, sitting there. She's probably like basking. She's probably got some young guy fanning her with a fan, feeding her grapes and all that kind of stuff as she watches the show. She probably got some kind of a timer set up. Based on, maybe she's got like some intern there, like saying, okay, now's the time for you to get on. They've mentioned you, 11 times, or 11.3 times or whatever. So now it's time for you to get on the show. So that's a good call by you, Barry, to kind of, get ahead of the game there. And it is a game that Tracy plays, obviously. So again, now what's interesting in the draft too, and I understand why they do it. But whenever a player's drafted, they make it seem like, okay, now you're you're drafted by Pittsburgh, so now you're part of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, really, you're not. That's just a part of the process, right? You drafted. First of all, you have to sign a contract. And not all players end up signing contracts with the team they're drafted by. Sometimes it isn't the best situation for the player. Let me see here. And Barry's he's right on here too. She takes up all the comments when she gets on. Not sure if I could get a word. Yeah, good point. Yeah. See, Barry, exactly. Yeah. And I know sometimes I've been hard on you, Barry, because sometimes it seems like, and again, it seems like you're kind of sucking up to Tracy, so to speak. But I think I found out that you're a gentleman. You're just being a good guy and kind of helping her feel good about herself, which she doesn't need a whole lot of help with that. But I think you're that kind of guy that still feels like as a man, that's your responsibility towards women, right? So good job by you. So it's a topic for the draft here when these guys are drafted. Sometimes I wonder, like you look back, like even Connor Bedard. I know it's hard, but let's run a scenario. So he's drafted by Chicago. Again, he does not have to sign with Chicago. He can technically go, I think junior, you don't sign for 2 years. Now he goes back in the draft again. Because you wonder, you say, okay, is that the best situation for a young player to go in? A rebuilding team. Connor McDavid went through that for many years. Now they've been to the finals twice, but he's 10 years in the league. And there's a lot of years there early in his career where the team just was not that good around him. So you wonder, like, again, the player, it's kind of a tradition that you sign with the team that drafted you. But, remember, you're going to have, if you're a star player like that, you're going to have like a 15 to 20 year career. And you want to be with an organization, and no disrespect to Chicago in the case with Bedard, but they had a coach there that was a first-time coach. Did they have a lot of any players around him, like character guys, older guys around him to show him the way? Like I still believe he's going to be a great player, but he's gone through some struggles here, and some of the way he's acted is like a 18, 19-year-old, which is exactly what he is. But the draft is an interesting process. I mean, I've told a story about my draft year, cleaning the poop out of the stalls. And Brian Berard's a great example. I represented him. He was the first overall pick in the draft, and he was drafted by Ottawa. At that time, Ottawa and no disrespect to them, but they just were not put together well, I guess we'll put it. They were just, they had a lot of struggles. So we made the decision that it wasn't right for him to go there. And ultimately, they traded him to the Islanders, where it wasn't perfect either with Mike Milbury running the show. But again, so the player, I wish the players use that right a little bit more, to not necessarily go to the team that that they're drafted by. What's the name? Thank you, Susan, very much. So I was hesitant to discuss Ron Duguay's health. He had asked me a while ago not to say anything, but obviously then his son posted, and I think Ron himself posted too. So a few months ago, he'd gone through, and I don't think it was a total secret, but he'd gone through, I believe, the cancer, like some surgery for colon cancer. And then most recently now has gone through chemo. He posted some videos of him, and Sarah Palin was taking care of him. And his son posted a pretty lengthy note, kind of like FU cancer kind of mentality. So, and Ron, it was clear, as what happens with people when they go through chemo, you can see that, physically he's weakened and not doing well. So all our best goes out to him. He's a fighter though. He was a healthy guy to start with. So I think he'll fight through it. So that is, it's interesting. Some guys deal with things differently. There's some other older players, Rangers, that are going through health issues, and they keep it very quiet too. So it's everybody. So that's why I'm really careful not to say too much until I really know that the player wants to come out and talk about it. So that's where we are at. What else happened this weekend? So, that's right. Had a little party for Mark Puttenvink. That's why he's sick. Probably partied all weekend. Going away party for him again. Moving out to Salt Lake. He's going to be part of. He's going to do the physical training for a youth program out there in Salt Lake. Him and Nathan Perrott, former player. Okay, I hear what you're saying, Ray. But we're gonna change that. We're not gonna allow ourselves to say that. It's all meant. I really do believe this, and I kind of joke around about it sometimes. But the more we say to ourselves that like aging sucks, well, then aging sucks. I think it's more saying, I'm not giving in. So, as you know, it's funny. I do all this more reading and studying now than I ever have. I believe so much more in. Like you do a lot of the. Again, studying on quantum computing and everything, and a lot of science leading to the fact that there's a lot of different theories, but one of them is that we can control ourselves, our mind, and our bodies much more than we're letting ourselves do. So that is my opinion. What else? I haven't seen you since. Oh, so last Monday, that's right. We had the show last Monday. Then we had a golf tournament up in Somers, New York. Caesars, who's a big sponsor of the Rangers, had an event up there with a lot of fun. Hot day, really hot. So who was up there? Adam Graves, Andre Dory was there. It was good to see him again. Who else was there? Gresh showed up for a little bit. Brian Mullen. Wasn't a whole lot of guys. Nick Fotiu made a presence, but didn't stay long. I think Nick is really. Let's be honest. Let's do a little, like maybe an intervention for Nick. I think Nick really, as time has gone on, Nick considers himself more like, Gordie Howe when he played. So it's like when you speak to him now, it's like it's a blessing, that he's allowing you to speak to him now. So, I don't want to get him in trouble. So, Ray, okay, yes, let's just talk a little healthier, fasting. So I am one that really believes in fasting, believes in the benefits. Now, it's not for everybody. Not everybody, particularly women, don't always react well to fasting. So fasting is basically, breakfast is you break the fast. So the theory is, and again, there's a lot of different beliefs on this and how long you have to fast. But I do a 16-hour fast. So I don't eat past 6 o'clock at night, and then I don't eat my breakfast until 10 o'clock in the morning. That's 16 hours between 6 at night, 10 in the morning. So during that time, the theory is after around 12 hours. And again, this is where you get different opinions, but I believe after 12 hours, your body now has burned up all the calories and all the sugars and everything inside your body. And now it goes into this phase called autophagy. And again, some people believe it takes longer than that, but I believe at some point anyways, your body goes into the state of autophagy, which means that auto means yourself. Phagy is eating yourself, which you're really not eating it. What it's doing is it starts to burn up stored fats in your body, and the real benefit is that it cleans up all your cells in your brain and in your body. So it heals yourself. Your body really heals itself by not eating. Now, some people will go for days without eating. They'll just be on water fast, or there's some people that will liquefy sea moss and just eat sea moss. I've seen that beautiful young woman's doing that. I guess she's become kind of famous too on online for doing that. So fasting, I think, is really healthy, especially if you want to cut weight. And it's really, and I think if you get on fasting, the theory, like sometimes you think, oh, geez, I'm not eating, I'm not going to have any energy. But again, your body now goes into a state where now there's no more calories inside your body for fuel. So it starts to burn up excess fat in your body. So that's the benefit of it, especially if you want to lose weight and get leaner. But I mean, you got to be careful. You got to make sure you drink enough water, hydrate properly. And again, I really recommend everybody you do your own study on it, and you will find a lot of different opinions, especially on the timing of it, on how long it takes to get that state of autophagy. So again, I believe after 12 hours. I've heard some people say 24 hours, but either way, even if it's not, even if some science is different than the one I believe in, you're still benefiting yourself. Purely. So basically I have an 8-hour window from 10 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night to eat my 3 meals I normally have. So it's kind of fun because now you're eating. So I eat at 10 o'clock is my breakfast, 2 o'clock's lunch, and 6 o'clock's dinner. So, I mean, you're packing in some calories, and I'm leaning out right now, trying to build more muscle. So I'm a lot of protein. So for me, eggs have been a food that for years there people were kind of like, oh, you got to be careful with cholesterol and everything. Now it's really believed the eggs are really healthy for you, especially if you're really trying to, build muscle. And it doesn't always have to be like bodybuilder muscle. Even if you're just trying to lean out. So I have eggs, avocado. There's some people really believe that sweet potatoes are a lot better than regular potatoes. The study that I've seen is that there is maybe a slight difference. The sweet potatoes are a little bit better nutrients, but I enjoy regular potatoes. So I make homemade French fries out of mine. Keep the skin on. Skin's got all the vitamins and nutrients on it, and then soak it for a little bit to get so basically you're getting the something out of the potatoes. So now you can get. It takes some moisture out of potatoes. It sounds kind of weird, but I soak it in cold water. Obviously, let it dry, and then when you I just bake mine. So I put drizzle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, season it up the way I want, and then I keep those in the fridge. I made up a big batch of it, so whenever I want them, I just throw them into the cast iron skillet with my eggs, and then have avocado with that. That's the breakfast. A lot of chicken, a lot of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I get mine frozen from Costco, that big bag, thaw them out. They do sometimes get a little chewy. So I have learned that once they thaw out, you poke it with a fork about 20 times on each side. And then I have my meat hammer, my tenderizing hammer, and tenderize that good, pound it down, pound your chicken. And when I put it in the cast iron skillet, a little bit of butter. Again, don't be afraid of your butter too much. The butter is kind of healthy for you. I know all these things that we were told to be afraid of before. Turn out now to be very healthy for you. So a little bit of butter. Again, you can't go crazy with the butter, but just juice it up and then cook it. Man, juicy. So I'll have my lunch today will be chicken, probably about 8 to 10 ounces of chicken, and then I'll have like baked beans with that. Baked beans, good source of fiber. Little Tommy's got to be pooping good. And then for another food that it's kind of gotten a bad rap is red meat. So I get ground beef. It's like a 90%, so it's like 10% fat. So that's fairly lean. There are some that is like 5% fat. And I'll make mine a little burger. So I'll have that with some, and I'll have mixed vegetables, right? Yes, I eat my greens. So I have mixed vegetables again from Costco, frozen. So it's so easy to throw them in. And some people kind of question, geez, when they're frozen, they're not as the nutrients kind of go in. Again, the study and I've read up on is that's not the case. The mixed vegetables are just as good frozen. Again, throw it in the cast iron skillet. Some days I'll have salmon. I love my salmon. So a lot of protein. The target, they say if you at least get 1 gram of protein for body weight. So if you're a 200-pound person, you're supposed to get 200 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein. But that, again, that's if you're in like really trying to build muscle. You should, you should at least get, like I probably, and I eat a lot of protein. So I probably get like that meal I talked about, that diet for the day. It probably gets me to about 160, 170 in grams of protein, which is pretty good. But again, if you're trying to build muscle, stay lean, then protein, and you still have to have your carbs. And again, fats aren't necessarily bad for you like they thought in the past. Like, so I use MyFitPal to chart all my foods. And when you chart it in, like when you're having salmon, avocado, all those kinds of things, your fat content is going to so they give you your macros, which is protein, fat, and carbs. So if you're eating stuff like, again, the avocados, the salmon, your fat is going to look like it's higher than it should be. But if you look in the nutrients portion, it's good fat. It's not trans fat. Like trans fats are terrible for you. That's all processed meats, bakery goods, all that kind of stuff. So you want to stay away from that. So yeah, oh man. And you know what I think is important too, I've learned, like once in a while, like you don't want to totally lose your fitness, but you have to take a break. And I've never wanted to admit this before, but it's important to take a break, even from the gym. Like I've learned now, like if I go 3 days in a row, again, the more studying I do on it, realize it's kind of defeating the purpose. It's better to have like 2 days on in the gym, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, and then maybe every couple of months, take 3 or 4 days off. And you do find once you go back in the gym, you're not going to lose all your muscle. Once you go back in the gym, you just feel so much better because you rested your body. Sleep is very important. I've fought that for many years, thinking Tom Laidlaw is superhuman. All I need is 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I realize now that I'm much better when I'm getting 7 or 8. So the other part is supplements too. People talk about supplements a lot. So when I get up in the morning, so I'm still trying to maintain my fast. So the theory is, so I take probably about half a teaspoon of matcha, creatine, and citrulline. Creatine it's becoming like the new thing. It's been around for a long time, but there's very few calories, like there's 1 or 2 calories. So I'm technically, I guess in some ways, because I'm putting any calories at all in your body, you're breaking the fast. But I look at it, I really, that combination, I think it's like 2 or 3 calories I'm putting in my body. So I make that into a tea, have that before I work out. Yes, a tea. Nice warm tea. The theory is with warm water, it dissolves those, particularly the creatine and the citrulline, much better, gets you in your system better. So, and then once I'm now going to break the fast at 10 o'clock, then I have ginger, turmeric, and honey as a tea. And then about 2 tablespoons of sea moss. Sea moss is like this superhuman food. Really good for your skin, your overall health. I was told it was good for my libido when I got it. So, of course, I stocked up for like a 10-year supply. So those are the first things that go in my body. So, again, it's the matcha, citrulline, creatine. Creatine is great for your muscles. And cognitively, too. I think it makes you much more aware. Citrulline is more to help with your cardiovascular health, open up your veins, blood vessels, and all that. And then again, the ginger and turmeric. Ginger is good for your immune system. Turmeric's good as an anti-inflammatory. The honey, first of all, I love the taste of honey, but again, it's got a lot of health benefits too. It's high in sugar, so you got to be careful with that. Like that's probably I think that's the only sugar I put in my body is the honey. But again, I know it's not. That's a big thing is staying away from sugar. Like as long as you're not putting out the extra sugars in like your coffee and stuff like that, like the granulated sugar. So that's where we're at in the diet. The diet's nailed down. Let me see here. Hockey players during your era were smoking. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Don Murdoch's doing well. Actually, you know what? I'm glad you bring him up. He's a good story where, yes, he went hard. And he's not proud of, I don't think he's ashamed of himself or anything like that. He just doesn't like getting on and talking about his past. But he's really cleaned up his life now. I think he's doing a lot of stuff, coaching young kids and everything up in British Columbia. So he's done well. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, when I first started pro, it was we're kind of getting away from that era as far as the smoking. But we still had some guys who would smoke. They wouldn't smoke in the locker room. They go into the bathroom next to the locker room. So we still got the smoke smell. Guy Lafleur, one of the best players ever played. Mike Bossy, same thing, smoked all the time. Obviously, we've lost both those guys, and like to know how much smoking had to do with losing them. But as far as listen, I think there's no question about the science talking about how smoking and drinking. We've talked about this so many times before. It wasn't good for you. But I tell you, some great players sure love to drink their beers. I mean, Wayne Gretzky was one of the, arguably the best players ever played the game, and he loved drinking, and apparently still does. And so more power to him. Loved drinking his beer. So it's just, I just think, like yes, there's a perfect way to do things, but then there's also your way to do things. And there's some things like, again, we've talked so many times, and you look at the Florida Panthers. I don't know if they're a bunch of party guys or not, but I tell you, they're a bunch of team guys. It's all about the team. They pull for each other. You see Matthew Tkachuk getting on talking about the free agents there. Bennett ended up signing an 8-year contract there. But he said to him, listen, we want to keep them all. But he says, they're my buddies. I want them to make as much money as possible. If they have to go someplace else to do it. And I paraphrase when I say that. Basically, that's the message he was sending. He didn't want to lose those guys. But, he realized, listen, guys have a short window to make as much money as possible in their careers for their families and everything. So Bennett stayed, got 8 years, $8 million a year. Some people think maybe he got a little bit more. Obviously, there's no the tax advantages, state taxes not being there in Florida, saved the money there. So, but still a lot of money, and he'll look back. He's already won 2 cups there, and the way they're going, they could win another 3 or 4 cups the way they're playing. So, but I tell you, the healthy eating, the sleeping. Another thing I've done too was remove alcohol from my diet. And, it just, I get it. Like, and I'd love going out and having a few beers with my buddies and all that kind of stuff, and maybe more than a few. But it's just, there's no benefit to it whatsoever. And that's the thing. Is it fun? But you know what I've come to realize? I probably have more fun now when I'm not drinking. Maybe because I've gotten older and I just don't care as much about what people think. So so be careful with smoking weed. Very dangerous to your health. That's, what, I'm glad you brought that up. Right. It's, and I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be totally right. That's a very debatable conversation, right? There's some people that believe that if used properly, certainly you have to, not use it until your brain is fully developed. They say it's harder on young people. The brain is still being developed. But there's some people who argue that if it's done intelligently, that it can actually be very healthy for you. Like cannabis products can be. Again, that's one of those. That's one of the big things. Like if you watch all these reels on Facebook and Instagram, you get so many different opinions on all these health issues. What I don't like is these guys that get on and say, this is the number one thing to do. You can't do this, not. Well, I'd rather people get on and say, listen, everybody has a lot of different opinions out there. Here are my beliefs, and here's why I believe the way I believe. But you're going to do your own homework and figure things out. And obviously, these guys are doing it because they're trying to make a name for themselves. They want to become like the expert on things. Like if you watch videos on, okay, so how do you work out? What do you do cardio? Do you do cardio before or after your workouts? Do you stretch? So should you stretch before or after? You get so many different opinions on that it's just you drive yourself crazy. So you have to do your own homework and really believe what you believe. It's that old saying, you go around and ask everybody their opinion and then just go do whatever you want. With fitness, I think that's one of the biggest things. So, Tom, any regrets leaving the hockey age biz? Huge dollars. Well, financially, it'd be nice to be around. But recruiting is such a huge part of that business. I don't want to speak for others. I felt like when I was there, recruiting was probably, you're spending more time recruiting than you are actually representing the players. And the problem is when I first became an agent, you can get really star players. Like Brian Berard was the first overall pick in the draft. I got him as a client when he was 16 years old. Now, for those same kids, you got to get them when like 12 or 13 years old. And it's just like, you gotta look in the mirror and go, okay, do I want to be sitting outside a locker room of a 12-year-old or 13-year-old hockey player trying to convince his parents to have a represent? I just wasn't what I wanted to do. No, and I'm not saying guys are doing creepy stuff. It wasn't a life I want to be living. There's a lot of the bigger firms, like Newport Sports with Donnie Meehan and Pat Morris. They have a lot of people out there working on their behalf, recruiting, so they don't have to go do the recruiting. They basically do the contracts. So a little bit more palatable, but I love my time. I did it for like 22 years. Love my time. Had some great experiences. Learned a lot of stuff. Went through some stuff I never thought I'd go through, like the Sheldon Kennedy case with being abused by Graham James. Was a terrible situation, but I was so naive about that subject, and now I feel like I'm much more educated. So yeah, I don't regret much in my life. Yeah, I really look and say, okay, I learned so much. My hockey career playing, you think, geez, maybe I could have been better, but again, I learned so much. I followed the dreams, goals, all that stuff, and great relationships with people. Same thing with the Asian business, no regrets whatsoever. Same thing as being a parent, right? Like one of the most important things you ever do in your life. And you look back, oh, geez, but there's no handbook on how to be a parent. If you're a good parent, you throw your heart into it and do your best. And that's really, you're going to make, and I think you're going to make mistakes. You're going to look back, oh, geez, I should have handled that situation differently. But, if you love your kids and just always put them first, and I'll be good. I love the changes that would come in new CBA. Yes. So good point. Thanks, Susan, for bringing that up. So they've agreed on a new CBA that will take place after this coming season. So long-term injury reserve is what Susan is referring to there as LTIR. So in the past, so I think didn't start with, but Tampa kind of made it a bigger deal with Kucherov a couple years ago, was hurt. So therefore they put him on what they call long-term injury reserve. So his salary then comes off the salary cap. And especially with him, but I don't know, it was like a $10 million a year player. So now that allows the team now to operate throughout the season. So he's still part of the Tampa Bay Lightning, can't play, but his salary is not part of the cap. So that allows them to sign other players that help them be better during the regular season. Then season ends. Now he comes back and plays, and there's no salary cap. There was no salary cap during the playoffs. So now you're basically getting like a all-star player back into your lineup coming into the playoffs, and it really doesn't cost you anything. So they're going to correct that. I don't know if they've finalized the mechanism for that, but basically they'll become some sort of a cap during the playoffs as well. So that, again, the players don't get paid during the playoffs, but they'll somehow factor that in so that that can't happen. So like a player like that can't miss the whole season and then come back and play in the playoffs and have not affect the team at all. So they were getting the benefit of still having the great player for the playoffs and not having his salary on the cap, so they could sign some other players to help them get to the playoffs. And then it didn't matter at that point. They could keep those players they had, plus they now add, in that case, Kucherov. They did that with Stone in Vegas a couple of times. I think that was Stone. So that's going to change. They are expanding to 84 games. There'll be 2 less preseason games. Veteran players will only have to play 2 preseason games. That's a gimme. Like players didn't want to play preseason games anyway. So basically what they're doing, and they've done this in football as well. So they reduce preseason games. Unfortunately, the bad part that I didn't like, at least in football, was that the first couple of first couple of regular season games really looked like preseason games because the guys just hadn't played enough. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case with hockey because the guys are in such great shape now. They could basically come in and skate for a couple of days at training camp and start the season right away. They don't need any preseason games, but it gives the teams obviously a chance to see young players play. But yeah, the whole preseason thing. And obviously what it does then is the season ticket packages, instead of 80, instead of paying for 82 games, you're paying for 84. Well, home games, instead of paying for 41, you're playing for 42. So more revenues. And again, that's a 50-50 split between the owners and the players. So I think that was probably an easy sell to do that. What else was there, Susan? There was the LTIR. There was the regular season being expanded. I don't know if there's anything else or not. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. Ron James, good morning. Draft day good for Rangers. You know what? It's so hard to tell in any year. It's a great question, Ron. And I know media and everything tries to paint, well, wow, they had a great draft day. I love when teams do. They always say, we got our guy. We got our guy. There's probably 20 guys that were their guys. Especially in a draft like this, there really wasn't that guy that you're saying, like, it wasn't a Sidney Crosby or Marilyn Mew or Connor McDavid. It doesn't mean these guys can't be great players and maybe fantastic players. It's just right now, the way they've developed, they're players they look at, that are, okay, they're good. We drafted them. Now let's see what happens to them. But there's always guys that are high draft picks that never play. There's always guys that are 6th or 7th round draft picks that end up having fantastic careers. You think back with the Red Wings with the guys they've had, it's awful, Zetterberg and Datsuk, and those guys were late picks. Wasn't it Henrik Lundqvist was a late draft pick too? Listen, I played 11 years. I was a 6th round draft pick. There's a lot of guys some guys, Marty St. Louis never was drafted at all. Eddie Belfour was never drafted, Hall of Fame careers. So the draft is, I look at the draft as a fun thing. It's in the middle of the summer. It's attention for the league, but that's why. And again, I understand why the networks do it. They want to play it up. That man, this is fantastic. Look at these young players added to, like they say, it's added to the Rangers' depth or Pittsburgh's depth or Buffalo's depth. Well, the guy can't play. They really haven't added to the depth. That's why I question sometimes. Like, if you look at the numbers, like I can't remember first round draft picks, the percentage to make it, I think, is in favor of them playing. Not necessarily being great players, but he's playing in the NHL. But as it drops down, like once you get like the fourth or fifth round, it's like 10 or 15% chance the guy ends up ever being a player. So sometimes when I see these trades for guys that are, for fourth or fifth round picks, like what really is the value? Now you could flip those picks to somebody else too, package them together. So never tell. Islanders did. I admire that Darce. I mean, he's got rid of Dobson, got two. What did he get? Like 16th and 17th pick overall in the draft. So added more players too. But again, not to be with all due respect to these players, I hope they have fantastic careers. But this draft is kind of looked at as not a weak draft, but there is again these star guys jumping out at you. Now again, that doesn't mean these guys can't be great, but I have to pay for reasons. I would much rather pay for one extra regular season game instead. Yeah, as long as they play like it's a regular season game. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Unfortunately, the season ticket holders pay no matter what. Yeah. So new CBA. What I like is with the, it's funny. Like I was still an agent when, like in 04, 05, when they had the lockout for the whole season. I remember people were saying, "Oh, it's going to ruin the league and all that kind of stuff." I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but it didn't hurt the league at all. I mean, it's obviously a season wasted for the players out of their careers at that time. But hockey fans are loyal. When it came back, they came back and didn't affect them at all. And then a few years after that, had another like half season lockout. And it was part of the process. You look back that they had to do that to get to the best deal possible. Now they've got it to a 50. So the Player Association at that time, Bob Goodenow, fought really hard to not have a salary cap. We gave in to the cap. Ultimately, the players at first had like a 58-42 split in their favor. I think everybody pretty much already knew eventually it was going to get down to 50-50 split, which is what it is now. The escrow was a big thing before. I believe the escrow is gone or is limited. I can't remember. Susan probably knows that. So that was a big thing. But it's all the process of getting to a more. And listen, like the cap is going up to estimating it's like at 90 million now, or something like that per team. And the estimates are in the next few years, it's jumping up to like 110 or 115 million or something. So, I mean, and as the cap goes up, the teams are forced to spend to a minimum. So they have to spend a certain amount of dollars. So the players are still making their money. Probably making way more. I mean, since that whole 04, 05, the league is taken off revenue-wise. I mean, so if the cap's going up to, so basically, I've described this before in a rough number. So if let's say the cap, the revenues it's beyond $6 million now. So let's say it's $7 million. So out of that, $7 billion league-wide. So out of that $7 billion, I think they remove some expenses, like it's a couple $100 million. And that leaves you with, so let's say it's 200 million. So that leaves you with $6.8 billion. They basically divide that in half. So 3.4 billion for the owners, 3.4 billion for the players. They then so that's the midpoint of where the cap is. They then have a floor. So it's all calculated based on that midpoint. So there's assuming that if everybody spent the midpoint, that's where that 3.4, that's where that number would end up. But they want to make sure that you can't have a team that just doesn't spend any money. So they have to spend to the floor. And then there's obviously the cap. And the percentage is the same on both sides. So if it's like a 10% below the midpoint, 10% above the midpoint gives you your cap and your floor. And that usually just general numbers on that. So obviously the more revenues that are generated by the league, the more money the players make, the more money they have to make too. So it's, yeah. Let me see. Yeah. They're also lowering the economy. Yes. Thank you, Susan. I knew you'd come up with that one. So right now, if players, So Mitch Marner is a good example, leaving Toronto. If he was to sign in Toronto because they own his rights, he could sign an 8-year contract. If he signs with a new team, he can only sign a 7-year contract. I say only. And that's interesting. I'm glad we bring that up too. So sometimes in the past, what a team would do is say, okay, listen, who are you going to sign with? They'd work out some kind of a deal and trade him to a team that they're pretty sure was going to sign him or wanted to sign him. Therefore, that in Toronto's case here, they would get something back in return. And then the player just signed with, in this case, the rumor is Vegas for him. But a couple of things there. Supposedly Marner, and I don't blame him for this, he only wants to sign like a 4-year deal, knowing that in 3 to 4 years, the cap is going to jump up higher. So he could get even more money. Go to a team that's a contender like Vegas, play really well for 3 or 4 years, hopefully win a couple of cups. Now he's worth even more money when the cap goes up. So he's, instead of signing that long-term deal, he'll end up getting this, unless he gets hurt, he'll end up getting the same number of years, just in 2 different contracts, and make more money because the cap's going up. The other part of that is there's rumors that Toronto, and it happens all the time, thinks that Vegas is tampering with Marner, meaning you're not supposed to talk to other players that are owned by other teams, which Toronto owns Marner's rights until tomorrow at noon, I think it is, July 1st. Then he's a free agent. So it happens so much that I think what Toronto's trying to do is say, okay, let's hold these guys hostage a little bit. Pretend we're going to at least threaten that we're going to call up Gary Bettman and file charges of tampering. And then we can get something for him. That's the deal. They feel like they could do a trade. So if you see Toronto and Vegas doing a deal today or tomorrow morning, what I'm hearing is that's what they're trying to do. But once you open up that can of worms, I mean, I don't know how much collusion there is between owners, but listen, Toronto wants to do what they can do. It hasn't been the first time that other teams have kind of gone after each other. But that would basically, so now, Toronto would, if Toronto files tampering charges against Vegas, now Vegas is out to get Toronto, right? Same thing, like these offer sheets that they talk about, like Montreal offer sheeted a player in Carolina, and then Carolina offer sheeted a player in Toronto. So there's the competitive nature of the owners and the GMs. Okay, let's all work together. But now if you're going to start, coming after us and we're coming after you mentality. So, but either way, it's pretty clear. So Tavares re-signed in Toronto as well. People think he could have got more. Geez, I can't remember how old he is now, but he's older player. He got 4 years at like $4.5 million a year. That's the kind of guy, like if you look, like we talked about before, like Steven Stamkos is where it all started for me, where people were starting to do more research, and they were saying how the players start to get, those point producers start to get to 32, 33, 34 years old. They really drop off. Their numbers drop off. So it's nice to say, okay, we want to sign, like in this case, Tavares, but you're not getting the Tavares of 5 years ago. You're getting the Tavares of today. And what is that worth? So, so there's still a lot of stuff that's, that in the past many years ago, it was like, okay, once the league shut down, they had the playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals. Then you didn't hear from the NHL for months. Well, now there's always stuff going on. So you have the draft, and they have free agency, and not all players, like on free agency, it used to be like on July 1st when free agency opened up, there was a flurry of signings. TSN loved it. ESPN loved it because there's all these signings. They had shows all set up for draft, for free agency day and everything. That isn't always the case now. Some players take their time in signing, and teams take their time as well in signing players. So it isn't always that rush to sign. There's going to be some deals, and there's going to be some trades too on tomorrow for July 1st. But not, and the networks loved it too. Like free agency day, like July 1st was a big deal. It was. Is that Canada Day? No, is it Canada Day June 1st? I can't remember. But anyway, it's a big deal. I remember as an agent. I mean, I'd tell my kids, whatever, listen, I'm locked on the door at my office like at 8 in the morning. I won't see you till probably midnight that night because you're just working the phones all day. I remember, I won't miss you. The player was a player who's a pretty good player. It hit free agency, and there was one place he wanted to go, and he made it really clear that, that's where he wanted to go. So we went, as your job is as an agent, you're trying to generate as much buzz around the player as possible. I learned, and It's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be playing games with GMs. Like if you say to a GM, "Oh, I've got 10 teams chasing around," then you find out later on there was no 10 teams chasing around. Well, the uh, next time you go do a contract, that agent's not, excuse me, that GM's not going to believe you. So I always tried to tell the truth. Like I had times where I had a player that had 2 or 3 teams that we were talking to, and I would say to the GM that owned his rights that wanted to sign him, I said, listen, I'm be honest with you, we've got 2 or 3 teams we're talking to. Obviously, we're not done anything yet, so I'm not going to say it's imminent. And he really believed me in the past or in the future. So it really paid off for me and helped me with free agents. But I had one player, though, that it's a certain place he wanted to go. It was at prime time to be a free agent as far as his age and how well he played. And so I didn't realize, but he was sitting around having a few cocktails, a few beers all day long. And, he was sitting on his, summer day, sitting at his deck someplace. And at the end of the day, he was signed and he was very emotional. And it really wasn't like him at all. And I thought, wow, because I thought, well, geez, he's really happy getting, we did a good job. His wife picked up the phone and says, Tom, he's been drinking all day. He's hammered. So it was kind of funny. Great guy, though. But yeah, that used to be a big day. It is still a big day, but it's not, I don't think it's as big as it was before that free agency day, July 1st. There he is, the Magic Man. He's changing lives with young kids there. That's Dennis. He runs a lot of the programs, but it's all the programs for the Learn to Skate, Learn to Play for the Rangers. Him and his crew. He's got a whole crew of guys he works with. Very well organized. When Dennis is there, there's a schedule, there's a plan. You do what Dennis says. We get time this out. We know what we're doing. I'm joking around about it, but it's when they have these clinics, they'll get in sometimes like 50, 60, maybe 70 kids coming in like 2 to 3 hours. And some of these programs, the kids come with no equipment. So the Rangers supply helmets, gloves, shin pads, elbow pads, skates, and sticks. So the kids can go out there without spending any money and get a chance to play. So they've got to fit them all for the equipment, get the skates for them. I mean, just getting the right sizes, and the kids and the parents usually don't know how to tie up the skates. So you get these poor guys, like 5 or 6 guys that are tying up, again, like 50, 60 pairs of skates. And you wouldn't believe, because you got to bend over. Obviously, your back is shot by the end of the day. So they put a lot of work into it. The kids have a great time. It's a great program because you get a lot of kids who have never skated before. A lot of inner city kids, not totally, but a lot of inner city kids that never really are exposed to hockey, not exposed to a lot of sports at all. And they're really nervous and doubting themselves. And when they get them on the ice and skate, some cases it's 15, 20 minutes. But it's great because now when they get off the ice, you can tell the kids they're going, holy smokes, I really did that. Like I know I say it's a life-changing thing, but in a small way, depends on the kids. It is a life-changing experience because again, now they realize, okay, I couldn't do this before, but because of these guys helping me get on the ice now, I can't do it. So Dennis is a huge part of that. He runs the crew there. Got a lot of, he's got some fun. So you see these guys all the time. So obviously you start joking around. We got one guy, John. He's a great guy. And when he speaks a very great speaker, but there's something about his voice. I don't know what it is. And he's loud, but it's not like he's annoying loud, but when he speaks, you can't understand what he's saying. And it's weird because he's a great speaker. I don't know, just the way he talks or whatever. It's not like you can't understand it, but it's like, what'd you say? So fun bunch of guys. So Dennis is ahead of that. So what else we got going on? Kind of quiet right now too. That's right. We had our golf tournament up in Somers on Monday. Hot. So I don't golf, obviously. So I drive around in the golf cart and make fun of people. Had a great group of guys. One guy, Mike, we friended each other on Instagram. He kind of golfed like me. He got his money's worth. He had as many shots as possible on each hole. But it was hot. Like I was sitting in the cart. We were shaded. But I didn't realize I had my left arm. So I'm driving. I had my left arm and left leg outside the cart where the sun was. So I've got a suntan on half my body. So it kind of freaky. It was good. Good to see Andre Dory again. I hadn't seen Andre Dory in a while. A good man. And a really good man, I'll tell you. We played together. I don't think we were rookies together. I can't remember, but we were partners together my first year. Stuff. He ultimately got traded to St. Louis. But his I don't know if he wants me to talk too much about it, but his wife has been going through some health issues, and he's been just like a fantastic person to stand by her side. So we call him the governor. In fact, I was sitting at the breakfast table before we went out and golf, and one guy, I asked the guy, I said, "So you golf with us?" He goes, "Andre Dory." I said, "We'll call him the governor." And he didn't know why, but he really figured out pretty quick. And again, I mean, this is a total compliment. Andre's a very intelligent guy, well-spoken, but he can speak. He'll get you, if you ask him a question, then you're going to get the full answer. So nothing wrong with that, but that's my buddy, Andre Dory. Sat with Adam Graves there for breakfast a little bit. Like I said, Nikki showed up. And Nikki, again, it's like, I don't know if I can, how I can say it. It's like Nikki is starting to feel like he's the Pope or something like that. Or like I said, like the second coming of Gordie Howe. Like when he shows up to the event, it's like he has an entourage with him. Like he has to wait until everybody else is sitting down, enters the room. A little bit like Tracy does right here in this show. And I guess Nikki's kind of like that too. Like maybe Nikki and Tracy are kind of like getting to be buddies or whatever. And they're kind of comparing notes how to do things. Yeah, because Nikki walks in and, it's like, everybody, I'm here. I'm Nick Fotiu. What's his line? Like he tells us all the time how he's the first ever New York born, I guess what the 5 boroughs, first ever New York born player to play for the Rangers or play in the National Hockey League. And he makes sure everybody knows it too. There's nothing wrong with that. So Nikki and I are buddies. I want to make sure everybody knows, there's no animosity there. It's just, I like to try to kind of prepare people. So when they see Nikki coming, be prepared. Like, wash your hands, be prepared to bend over and kiss the ring and that kind of stuff. So that's our buddy, Nikki Fotiu. Oh, this is there. Gress showed up. Brian Mullen, my twin, was there. Mully. So Mully was there, myself, and Adam Gray. So we're the 3 that everybody, when we're together, people know they can see the difference. But when we're apart, they think we're twins. They get confused. So I of course, tell everybody I'm Adam Graves. I don't want to mislead people or like that, but all right. So we had the draft, we had the golf tournament. The Pride Parade was yesterday. So here we go. Tom, the NHL pension was important back in your day, and nowadays players make, You know what? It's a great question, Ray. I'm sorry. Is it Roy or Ray? I keep saying Ray. It's Roy. I apologize, Roy. We didn't spend enough time. We didn't pay enough attention to our pension. We thought naively, go screw it. We didn't worry about pension. Our pension that we have now from when we played is, and again, it's our own fault. Not blaming anybody else. The league didn't screw us. Alan Eagleson screwed us, but he screwed everybody. But our pension's terrible. And there's no, I know with the NFL, they go back and renegotiate the pension for the old players. Susan, I'm going to have to get to that comment soon. But our pension's pretty much non-existent. There's no health insurance attached to it and all that kind of stuff. So, but again, that's us that played back then. We were just a bunch of naive guys wanting to play, not paying attention, that kind of stuff. You're right. The pension is better now, but it's almost irrelevant. I think the current players, when they retire, still can maintain the health insurance, which is really good health insurance. Full dental, everything. It's kind of like the Cadillac of health insurances. And again, I think they can maintain that. But as far as pension for these guys now that are playing, some of them may donate it to charity compared to what they're making. So, all right. Sometimes I think that like Susan and I are like close, like we're tight, like that, like tight. But then she'd make a comment like this, and there was only one. I guess so. Like when she makes a comment like that, I almost feel like Tracy has sent her a message saying, Susan, write this down just to get to Tom, right? To try and make Tom not feel so good about himself. We all know Adam Graves is a fantastic human, but there's other people in the world, right? Other than Adam. So, but that's the way things go. All right. So we're going with the no air conditioning look. Now, I did break down. I'm not totally going to go with no air conditioning. Like the other day, I think it was Monday or Tuesday where it was hot there last week. I did break down, turn the air conditioner off just to go to bed more, to be able to sleep comfortably. So that's it. Now, okay, pet peeve of the day. My Verizon cell phone bill was just continuing to take off. It's like I was going to have to take a mortgage just to pay my cell phone bill. So I called them up, and of course they're over in Pakistan or India or whatever, and I wanted to reduce the bill. They end up, and I give them credit, they swindled me into convincing me that I was going to get a new phone, new iPad. Now, I hate to. There's a little bit of dishonesty. Now and I should have taken screenshots of the stuff they sent me, but they told me they were going to reduce the bill by like $100 a month. So now I get the bill, and that's not the case. So now I have to get back on the phone and talk to the supervisor. Now, the first guy I got on, and I give him credit, I was a little bit irate, felt I was being lied to, and he said to me, "Oh, just calm down." And hold on, you told me to calm down? My ego might have got a little bit the best of me there. But in the end, he settled it. I apologize. I should not have said it. It was a cultural thing. I think he was trying to be helpful. Calmed down. So you know what? I thought, okay, if I'm going to get mad at him, he did a good job, settled everything. I should also, so I said, can I please speak to your supervisor? And I said to the supervisor, the guy did a great job there. So they were surprised, basically, especially on how the conversation. By the time I got to them, I was a little hot. Okay. I feel better now. Now I'm feeling better. Whew. There's only one Tom Laidlaw. That's true too. There's only one. I don't know anybody else. I don't know too many Toms. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a few Toms. Yeah. Tom Horvath used to be the trainer with the Rangers. He used to work on the visitors bench all the time. Tom Horvath. I think we lost him recently, but he's a good guy. A few Toms. All right, everybody. So again, Mark, we're hoping he's feeling better. Again, he may just be mad at me because I didn't make it to the dinner on Friday they had for him. And he's trying to make me pay. Probably not come on the show. I doubt that's not Mark's way. That may be something that Tracy would try to do, or Nikki Fatillo. And again, I feel bad trying to, say stuff about Nikki. And I hope you know I'm not saying it in a disparaging way at all. I think it's just important that people are aware that when they're dealing with Nick, it's like, when you're going to meet with, Donald Trump or, Joe Biden or Barack Obama or any of these people, you need to be prepared. Okay. They, don't shake their hand, bow to them, whatever it is you're going to do. And I think that's the same thing with Nikki, that you do need to be prepared that it is like a meeting of the Pope, that again, there's the entourage there. And again, I'd have to check. I think he wears a ring. So I think it is proper to kiss the ring. So if you do see Nick, instead of just shaking his hand, I would really grab his hand and don't look him in the eye, right? It's like kind of that respect thing. So you can't look him in the eye. You got to put your head down, grab his hand and kiss the ring. And maybe if you're lucky, he'll bless you. Because again, and just say, listen, I understand you're the first ever NHL player from the 5 boroughs of New York. I think he likes when you mention that. So every time you see Nikki, try to mention that as much as possible. Say, listen, I heard you're the first ever. I mean, and I don't need to get any credit. You don't need to tell him that I said so. I think it's just important you just say it on your own out of respect for Nikki. And again, depending on the situation, he may not even acknowledge you. He may, give you a nod, whatever. And listen, he may even shake your hand too. If that happens, man, that's a huge thing for you. So, all right, buddy. Everybody have a fantastic week coming up. Supposed to be obviously getting hotter, and we'll be seeing you next week. Hopefully, Mark will be back. Talk to you. Bye.